Good morning, friends. This is Rebecca coming to you live from Rebecca's Cocina. So I've been posting some videos of my cooking. For many years, I've wanted to share my recipes with my friends and those that follow me. And this morning, I thought I would take time to post making my homemade fresh, spicy mama salsa. For those of you that may not be aware, I used to have my salsa in grocery stores. Here in the Austin area, we were in about 13 stores, and my salsa was called Spicy Mama Salsa, and I had it in a hot flavor and in a mild flavor at H-E-B Central Market, and a lot of the Royal Blues downtown Austin carried it. And my husband David actually did a great job of getting it in 13 different stores, but the reason that we closed the business down is salsa is very low margin, and it's difficult to scale salsa. So if you produce your salsa, you're either going to be a major salsa carrier like a Old El Paso or a Tostitos salsa or a paste and carry it in large pallets and volumes, or you're going to be a small salsa kind of boutique carrier. And I actually cooked it in large quantities and made it with the co-packer here in Austin and did pretty well with the 12 stores. But we shut it down when my consulting business now, my Washington, D.C. consulting business started growing and expanding, and it was difficult for us to also have the salsa business. Again, very low profit margins in salsa. And when you go into the grocery store in Texas, as you can see, you have 200 different salsas to choose from. And so I didn't have a real market differentiator. So anyway, we had a nice run with it for about 3 or 4 years, and then decided after a good run that we would not be producing it anymore. So I still make my salsa homemade, and I make it here at home. I make it fresh every week. We do not go 1 week without salsa, and there are great benefits to having good homemade salsa in your home as opposed to your store-bought version. So a lot of the store-bought salsas have a very high sodium content. And if you turn the bottle around and look at it, even the good fresh salsas that say fresh or organic or no preservatives will still have a very high sodium count. So I find that when I make my salsa here at home, it stays fresh for about a week in the fridge. It doesn't last a week with David around. But I also control the ingredients of what goes in the salsa. There is absolutely no preservatives. There are no vinegar, things like, vinegar and high sodium counts, and I also control a lot of the salt intake. I use fresh ingredients for my salsa, so I want to show you what I'm doing now. So the secret to my salsa in particular is fire roasting the chilies. So let me show you. These have been fire roasting. The other secret is you want to use a variety of chilies. So for this particular grill, I am using poblanos, which are the nice mild peppers. I am using Hatch. We're in Hatch season right now here in Texas, so we have a lot of great Hatch chili. I am using jalapenos, and then I am also using serranos. So for those guys and gals that love spicy, the way to spice up your salsa is to use these serranos. Now you want to be careful in how many you use because they're very hot. Today I'm going to use 3 serranos. So I'm using 3 very hot serranos, and then probably about 7 jalapenos, a couple of Hatch, and then some poblanos. So this will make enough for about 2 week servings. I will jar a week this week, and then I put a week in a Ziploc freezer for next week. So I make it in 2 week increments, and I make enough to last me 2 weeks. If I'm going to have a party, like on Saturday, I'll have friends over. They'll enjoy the salsa. I might use a little bit more, but for the most part, I try to freeze it. And then also fire roasted tomatoes. Again, the fire roasting is what gives you that nice, rich flavor in terms of your salsa content. So you definitely want to fire roast your tomatoes versus boil them or add them raw. And you want them nice and soft, not too soft or not too overcooked, okay? Now, you want to buy, I use a traditional comal. This is, you can get this comal anywhere at Fiesta or Walmart or anywhere they sell pots and pans. You want to actually make sure you toast your comal in the oven before you use it and leave it in there to get a nice blackened color before you start grilling on it. And then I also use this grilling pan. So those have been roasting nicely, fire roasting on high heat. So I have turned it off, but I want to turn it back on to show you the heat level. So you should be roasting your chiles at high heat level, about that heat level. You want to make sure, again, that they're fire roasted and they're not cooking slowly, but they're grilling very fast in a high heat, okay? So now that our chilies are done, the other part of the important ingredients that are here, as I mentioned in my cooking video the other day, spices are big with the Contreras family, and my cooking in particular, I keep lots and lots of spices. I want to show you my spice rack. There's a ton in there, and then there's also a ton in my cabinet. And so you want to use your spices for most of your food. Now, pay attention to the sodium count in your spices, and you want to use low sodium spices if there's such a thing. If you know that you're using a high sodium spice, you want to make sure you add just a little bit, okay? I am going to actually flavor my salsa with fresh garlic. I've got some fire roasted fresh garlic here that's also roasted. And then today I'm also using a black garlic. I love black garlic in all of my cooking. Black garlic, there's a lot of benefits to black garlic that are very, very good for the body. I buy this at the farmer's market. A really strong antioxidant and superfood actually in the black garlic, and it gives it a nice rich smoky flavor. And then I've put out some fresh jalapenos and fresh serranos so you can see when you're buying and picking jalapenos. So for those cooks that are watching or listening to me, you know, you always want to pick up the fruit or the vegetable, and you want to hold it a little bit, and you want to make sure it's firm before you buy it. Don't just throw a bunch of stuff in your basket, but you want to make sure you're buying firm, fresh, green jalapenos and serranos, okay? So here we go. We are going to start mixing. I actually use a Vitamix. Vitamix is one of my favorite blenders. I actually can cook any sauce in this Vitamix. It's quite a little bit of investment. I bought this about 10 years ago at the Home and Garden Show, but it's worth the investment because once you buy a Vitamix, it's got a lifetime guarantee, and you can pretty much make any homemade sauce in your Vitamix. So today I'm using this Vitamix. And we're going to take just the stem off these chilies. Now be mindful, don't get your hands all hot. I'm trying to do both while I'm holding here. So you want to cut the very end off the stem so that you don't blend the stem with the chili, okay? Don't waste anything, as Mama taught me. These hatches are very hot hatch. So I'm actually for now going to start with just one serrano because these hatch chilies that I bought at the farmer's market, I tasted them the other day. They were very, very hot. But I'm going to throw all of my jalapenos in there because these are nice, flavorful jalapenos. I've also grilled some onion, which you can see here. Again, we're going to leave the serranos right now alone and focus on the hatch, the poblanos, the jalapenos. So starting a good flavor. A lot of people that have had my salsa know that it's very unique. It's very fresh, very different, very fire roasted. And they've always asked me, how do you make it? Why does it taste so good? Well, it tastes so good because I am fire roasting my chilies, and I am putting lots and lots of fresh ingredients. Fresh tomate, fresh cebolla. Now today, I normally use cilantro as well, but today I'm actually going to forego the cilantro. And the reason for that is, keep in mind when you're using cilantro, it's a very distinct flavor and it's delicious, but it also will not allow your food to last as long in the fridge. When you add cilantro to beans, put a little bit of water before I blend, just a tiny bit. When you add cilantro to your chili, to your beans, to your rice, it's not going to last in the fridge long. Cilantro is a spoiler for food. And then I'm ready to blend. So the good thing about this Vitamix is it has several levels of blend. You can start low and then increase your blend level. Now you can see that this is really thick, so I'm actually going to add just a little bit more water. You want to be careful and not add too much water to your salsa because then it'll be too watery. but you can kind of add as you go, and you can tell if it's blending nice and consistent or if you need to add just a little bit more water. This is going to be delicious. Today I'm making a medium salsa. So again, you want to turn the blend down. You don't want it liquefied, and if you do it too high, it will liquefy it. So you can see the green chilies have been predominantly cooking. I'm going to go ahead and add the tomatoes. As the green chilies, the tomatoes will blend very fast, so you want to add them last. And then I'm going to give it a little dip. You can see how much salsa this is making. Already it smells very hot. Oh my goodness, that's going to be a little hot. We're going to actually tone it down in a minute. Okay, that's about all we're going to blend because we don't want it liquefied. You want it nice and thick. I'm going to add a little bit more garlic powder, not salt, okay, just a little bit of garlic powder. And then I also add comino to my spices. And Alex Shinkin, if you're watching, these are your spices, Fiesta spices. Fiesta spice is a nice spice to buy. You can get it anywhere in the store. A friend of mine, Alex, runs it and produces it. It's really cool. You want to add some comino. Now I'm going to take the comino is not spreading very well, not sprinkling very well, so I'm going to take and loosen it a bit. And then I'm gonna finish it off with some sea salt. Not too much. And keep in mind when you're doing salsa, you want to taste as you go. You don't want to add a ton of spices and then realize it's too salty, has too much garlic, what have you. So this should be your consistency. It's nice and thick. I like to make my salsa thick enough where you can actually pick it up with a chip. Now I'm going to taste it to let you know if it's really hot. Wow. That is definitely my hot version. And the reason it's so hot is because I added those serranos and those hatch chilies. So I'm going to actually add a little bit more tomato to mild it up later. But I like it hot, so I'm going to eat it hot this morning as we do our taste test. If it comes out too hot, we've got more tomatoes here we can add. I'm going to throw these back on the fire roaster and add these cherry tomatoes. But I am going to jar a hot version because my guests love the hot version. So there is my salsa. In total, it took about 20 minutes to make. And as you can see, I made a ton. We're gonna jar half of that to last for a week. And we're gonna freeze half of that. The other thing I'm gonna add to this, and I'll do it when I in the video, is a little bit of fresh lime juice, which I don't have out here. I need to get it out of the fridge. But I will add a squeeze of fresh lime juice. Again, the garlic powder, sea salt, comino, a little bit of pepper, and all the fresh ingredients. And you are done with your salsa. So I will give it a taste. I'm actually having these chips with it this morning that are multi-grain sea salt flax chips. They're really delicious, so I'll let you know how it is. Oh my God. Amazing flavor. These are the chips I use. If I'm gonna eat chips, I like to eat whole, healthy chips. These are USDA organic, flaxseed and quinoa. They're multi-grain, and I can get them at Costco. So I'm gonna take another bite before I let you go. This is just amazing. So we will have this tonight with some black beans and some grilled chicken right on top, no tortillas needed. And then I'll also serve it on Saturday when I host a dinner party for my friends here at the home. So coming to you live, this is Rebecca Contreras. And many of you know I'm releasing my first book. It's coming out next month. If you haven't already pre-ordered it, it's Lost Girl. It's my life story, a transformative story. You'll want to read it and read all the different aspects of my life that I've encountered in terms of my upbringing, my transformation from a welfare to work program, and also the amazing way I reinvented myself to now be an entrepreneur. And so read it, order it today. You can tag me on this professional website, Rebecca Ann Contreras, or you can visit my website at www.rebeccacontreras and sign up for the book launch here in Austin if you're local, and pre-order my book and then share it out with your network. In this day and age that we live in, it's so important to hear great stories, positive stories, stories of impact and stories of hope. And that's what my story does. It gives people hope, and it creates possibilities that weren't there in the beginning. And so I'm encouraged to share it with you. I loved sharing my salsa recipe. I've been told for many, many years, share your recipe. So I did that today, and hopefully you enjoyed it and are blessed. Make it at home, share it with your friends, and remember, no preservatives, healthy, healthy, healthy salsa, and good with anything you make to eat. God bless you. Have a blessed day today.